Hey y'all, hey, what's up? It's Brandy. Brandy coming back at you. Wanted to have a quick discussion with you guys, real quick. Um, I wanted to first shout out Teo Ministries. Last night, it was an awesome discussion on the current events and everything that's happening right now, and how it's all kind of just happening at once. It was good to sit back and listen to my brothers talk and break this thing down, and it was good to hear a lot of our hear the panel, on the same page. You know what I mean, as far as the big picture. You know, um, and so I just wanted to kind of talk about that. Talk about what my brothers were talking about last night, and it kind of it goes hand in hand. I heard some people talking about how they felt like people had just basically washed their hands of this place in a sense, and that's what I was talking about. They it seems like the United States, the powers that be, as far as this place, they're getting what they want. And I'm gonna rewind. Okay, so we hit our 400 years in 2019, in 2019, and then 2020. Of course, we all know, all hell broke loose, right? And so there, and it was orchestrated, and we know that. And because it was a means to an end, and the end was the injection, right? And the first people that they targeted, of course, was our people. It's how Jacob say, it's all about you. You know what I mean? It's all about you. And when he used to say that, when I would, first listen, like, I would try to really take that in, because, as a people, we went from feeling like we didn't really matter, in a sense, to, now, we matter, and it's really actually about us. So it took a second for me to really take that in and go, man, like, is it really about us? And after seeing how they, moved and maneuvered, I was like, okay, yeah, it really is all about us. They we were first in. They wanted us first in line. They went through extremes. I wish my husband was here, because he would probably love to talk about this. I'm gonna have him on one of these days, but so we can just sit and talk like we always do, but talk with you guys. But they went through all kinds of leaps and bounds to try to get us to take it. You know what I mean? Because they know that it's time for us to go, and so their whole purpose in this is their whole purpose was to stop us from being able to leave, to eliminate us, literally eliminate us. And that's what I mean by they're getting what they want. And I'm gonna connect the dots in a second, because like I said, I like to put puzzle pieces together. I like to paint a picture. I like to pull from everything and say, okay, now what are they, what are they trying to say, what are they trying to do, you know what I mean? All praises to the Most High for giving us the eyes and the discernment to be able to do that, because like I said, like I mentioned before coming to the knowledge of who we were, it was almost impossible to see what was going on. Yeah, you could see, oh, the New World Order and the Luciferians, and they're doing this, and they want to set up their beast system and blah blah. But there was a chunk of information missing. There was a piece of the puzzle missing, and we're the piece of the puzzle. You know what I mean? So I'll get back into what I was saying. So 2019 hit, and then we the 2020, or we hit our 400 years of 2019. 2020 comes, and then the orchestrated situation, and then they got the means to the end, which is the injection, right? Okay, so they want us to line up first. So what do they do? They hand out $50 grocery cards. Now, got a question: do y'all know any Gentiles that need $50 for groceries? I just need to know. It was pinpointed toward us. Then they started, we'll give you $100 a shot. Let me tell you something. I have Gentile friends, and they would laugh at that $100. You know what I'm saying? These Gentiles, they're not struggling out here. You know what I mean? And so $100 a shot, that's nothing to them, but to our people, people that are struggling, it means something. $100 a shot. You take this. I hopefully they don't delete this video or whatever the case. But you take this, then we'll give you, a hundred. We'll throw you $100. Matter of fact, we'll give you $100 for your children too. Every child you bring in, every time they get their shot, we give you $100 for them. That is just suspicious. You know what I mean? You bribing me through grocery cards and $100 a pop for me and my children. Then they went as far as they put on concerts. I don't know if y'all recall, but I don't know if it was in Atlanta, but they pulled out all the people like Crime Mob, all kinds of artists, from when I was in high school, right? And they were like, look, we're putting on this show, and all you got to do is be vaccinated. And it was nothing but Hebrew artists. You know what I'm saying? And then they were like, if you don't like that, 1 second, sweetheart. That's my oldest. What? Hold on 1 second, okay? Okay. But they were like, if you don't like that, if that's not your groove, if that's not your move, then on Sunday it was like Saturday we got all the hip hop artists from the 2007s and 6s and 5s. But if you don't like that, then on Sunday we got the gospel artists, and they were all Hebrew artists. They were all black artists. I hate to even use the word black, but I'm just trying to relay, help you to understand what I'm saying. Not that you need help, but you know what I mean. Just in case there are people that listen to this that don't know that we're Hebrews. As far as other Hebrews don't know we're Hebrews. But anyway, so yeah, they had all the gospel artists on Sunday, and they were all Hebrews, all black. So it was like, who are you targeting? And then they went to the churches. They pulled a Marcus Sanger. You know what I'm saying? They did the thing. They tried to do what worked in the past. You get to the preachers, and then you get to the people. You know what I mean? So we hit 2000. We hit our 400 years. 2020 comes, and it's like they're panicking. They're like, okay, what do we do? All right, we need to take them all out. And so we weren't lining up like they wanted us to, right? They were throwing all. I saw they were giving out lap dances at strip clubs, and or a strip club in Nevada. Like, if you take this shot, we'll shoot you up at the strip club. You know what I mean? Like, what in the world? Just trying to get through to our people through devices, or I'm sorry, not devices, but vices. You understand what I'm saying? So anyway, so that didn't work. And so now all of a sudden it seemed like, painting the picture, okay, this whole thing pops off with Russia and Ukraine, and it's like the US is going around saying, somebody please blow us up. Somebody, anybody blow us up. And this is what I mean. Everything Russia said, don't send them that, don't do that, don't send those weapons, don't you keep on, and the United States does exactly what they say not to do. Then what else? Okay, Taiwan, and China, China was like, don't come over here, you better not come over here, you're gonna start, don't come over here. And the United States is like, let's send Nancy Pelosi over there anyway. You know what I'm saying? And then the same thing with North Korea, South Korea. North Korea, like, get out of our business, so on and so forth. South Korea, U.S. is like, we standing with South Korea. Like, every person that has the potential to blow us up, they're like, they're trying to get them to do it. And this is the reason why I think so. And you could disagree, and that's okay, because I'm open and I like to talk, and I like to hear your opinions as well. And I'm okay with if you think I'm wrong. It doesn't offend me, but it's like they're going around to each nation that has the capability to blow us up to get them to do it. Like, they are egging everybody on because they don't want us to leave this place. They do not want Judah to get up out of this place. They don't. See, they want, and when I said this in another video, these Luciferians, they do believe in prophecy. They know that this place has to fall in order for them to get what they want. And that's the brothers last night, they were speaking about that. You understand what I'm saying? Like, they need this place to fall out of the ashes. That's what order out of chaos. That's what our brothers were talking about last night. Order out of chaos. They want this. Understand? You got Russia. They're preparing. The United States isn't preparing its citizens. The most they're giving is, like one time I was watching Food Network, and it went to commercial. I'm watching, hamburgers and wings or whatever. It goes to commercial, and it's a commercial for generators. I've seen commercials for extra food supply. You know what I mean? I've seen commercials just watching TV. You know what I mean? And so the most they'll give is that, but they're not doing any type of preparation. They just want to distract. You know what I mean? And Brother Karras touched on that too. They don't want you prepared, because the best case scenario for them is that nobody make it, but especially not Judah. Especially, they do not want us to leave this place. So yes, they know that they get a time to rule, a small time to rule over the nations, because that's the judgment, that's the captivity. They know that. And so yes, they want this place to fall, but they want us to fall with it. And so it looked like to me and to my husband, they just going around like trying to figure out, playing, who can we get to push the button first. And at the same time, they want this place to explode, and they want it to implode at the same time, because okay, they got their wish. Now Russia is getting ready. You know what I mean? They're like, yo, we about to make this declaration. This is about to be a one-on-one. Like Cole was saying, it ain't a proxy war anymore. It's a you and me thing. You understand what I'm saying? So they got what they wanted. They want somebody to push the button with us here. Now they're not going to succeed, because the Most High obviously is going to pull us out of here before this happens. And this, this this is why my bags have been packed. Suitcases. It's 7 of us, and we ordered suitcases and packed them suckers with with spring and summer clothes last year for this year, because I'm like, man, I'm expecting to for us to bounce come springtime. You know what I mean? Summertime. That's how close I feel like we are, because they literally they got what they wanted. They then pushed Russia far enough to where they're like, you know what, we're ready to go. I was watching True News, and the I don't know if it was the military general of Russia. I don't know if it was Medvedev. I don't know. I don't know who it was. So excuse me, but they were talking about, it was an official, and talking about how like the Russians need to be ready to die a glorious death. Like they're willing to fight for what in their minds what they think is right. They have proclaimed that this place is backwards. That this place is having I don't know if I can say this, but two mothers, two fathers type situation. You know what I mean? Like they have proclaimed like this is not right, and so to them they're fighting for their country. They're fighting for righteousness according to them. You understand what I'm saying? So they're letting their citizens know, hey, we must be ready to die a glorious death. You understand what I'm saying? So they're about it. You know what I mean? Over here it's that was Alec Baldwin. He's being charged with manslaughter, and we found some documents in Biden's house, and this, that, and the other. It's all staged. You try to tell me that you come on now, it's a distraction. You try to tell me that you raided Trump situation, and then a month or two or so later, now you find in Biden's, randomly finding documents in Biden's homes and stuff like that. It's a distraction. They want this place to fall. Don't think for a second that they want this place to survive. They want it to explode from the outside, and they want it to implode. And that's what, as far as imploding, you mess with people's money. You understand what I'm saying? You're talking about, they do things. You know who runs the media, right? And so you turn to every news station, if you're watching, mainstream news, and they all use the same phrase. It's like a trigger phrase, extraordinary measures, extraordinary measures, extraordinary measures. You know what I mean? They all say the same thing, because it's mind control. You know what I mean? You say that, when the whole thing popped off with C-19, the thing that they were saying was together, we'll get through this together. We'll get through this together. Safe and effective, safe and effective. You hear something enough, and you begin to believe it. It hypnotizes you, And so, but anyways, I'm sorry if I'm talking very fast. Sorry about that. Yeah, I done lost my train of thought, y'all. Basically, they want. I found it. I found my train of thought. They want it to implode and explode at the same time. Okay. if you are destroying the food supply, and at the same time you announce out of nowhere, and it's perfect timing, you know what I mean? Things are about to pop off as far as World War III, and then all of a sudden now, oh, just to let you guys know, we're about to, hit the debt ceiling. Oh, we hit the debt ceiling, and we got until June to do something, or it's all going down. But until then, we'll be implementing extraordinary measures. So you're talking about messing with people's tax returns. You're talking about messing with people's Social Security and Medicare and so on and so. Do you know what will happen if they take people's tax returns? See, a lot of us depend on that. You understand what I'm saying? A lot of us depend on that. That's our leg up for a couple of months or so. You know what I'm saying? You mess with people's Social Security, people depend on that. You understand what I'm saying? Like, I mean, even my own brother. My brother lives, and my brother, he can't walk, and that's but he can't walk, and so he gets SS, Social Security, and he lives in a place where he uses that to pay for his living. You understand what I'm saying? For him to be there, and so if they take that, then what? So they want the riots. They want the civil war. They want this place to crumble. They want it to fall. They do not want this place to last. It's like they're setting up, like if it was like they were setting up, if they can't get someone to blow it up, then maybe they can get the citizens of the country to go off and to blow it, to implode themselves. Maybe we could, take it down from the inside. It's like they are so desperate to bring this place down. It's so strange because, like I said, they believe prophecy, but they try to fight against it. So and sort of try to fight against it. Meaning they know this place has to fall, but they think, well, maybe we can destroy it with them in it. Maybe we can take out Israel or Judah. You know what I'm saying? Within with this place. You understand what I'm saying? So that's why they're not. They don't care to warn the citizens. That's why they keep them distracted. That's why they're going around. It's like they're going, like a pest. You poke at China, poke at Russia, poke at North Korea. Poke somebody, anybody. Please blow me up. That's what they're saying. You know what I mean? That's what they want. They want us to not make it. But all praises to the Most High. We're going to make it out of this place. You understand what I'm saying? So I don't think we have much longer. I don't think it's possible. I believe that we are being led like sheep to the slaughter. You know what I mean? And that he's not going to let us be slaughtered. It's just not, this isn't for us. This judgment is not for us. So I truly believe, I always get excited because I think about, okay, Isaiah 60 and how, we're born, or Isaiah 66, we're born as a nation, right? And then Isaiah 60, Gentiles come to the brightness of our rising, our hearts are enlarged. It's a process, right? So I'm thinking, okay, we may not leave in 2-3 months, but I'm expecting us to be born as a nation in a couple of months so that the process can begin. It's a process, right, to get out of here. It's not, I don't believe, I know that our ancestors, they when Passover happened, you know what I mean, and the death of the firstborn, they got up and they left. You understand what I'm saying? But I believe that Passover will play a role in it, whether we're born on Passover or whether we make it out. So I make it out of here so that we're celebrating the next Passover. On the continent. I'm expecting us to be born within a couple of months. I mean, I truthfully, y'all might think I'm crazy, but I wake up, am I different? You know what I mean? Am I okay? No, I still feel the same. Okay, because that's how much I expect us to be born as a nation, literally any moment, so that the process can happen, so that they can say, wow, they're the people. Okay, now what do we do? Okay, we need to put them back on. We need to bring them back to the continent. Okay, well, we need to give them money. Like it's a process, right? It's a process. So I believe that process is going to start like any moment. And I also believe, remember, and I was saying this, and I felt crazy saying it, but now I don't anymore. Okay, remember when was it New Zealand that was putting people on cruise ships, refugees on cruise ships, right? And I seen that story broke, and I was like, that's going to come here. You know what I mean? And I made a post and said that's going to come here. And lo and behold, in New York, they were talking about putting the who is it? The people that came over. I'm sorry, it's escaping me right now. But across the border, they're thinking about putting them on cruise ships in New York. You know what I'm saying? So it's like it's inching closer toward us. If they're already talking about putting these people on cruise ships, over here, New York is talking about doing that, putting these people on cruise ships. We're a step away. Israel is a step away. Judah is a step away from getting on those cruise ships. Ourselves. I also had a theory now. Okay, if they're putting them on the cruise ships, not only to live there, but they probably will work those cruise ships. What if they? I mean, we would need a lot of ships, and don't lose me now, y'all. Don't. It's just theory now, but they're putting these people on these cruise ships to house them, and of course, they probably make them work them, and so on and so forth. I I, I wouldn't be surprised if the Most High isn't putting people on there to what's the word I'm looking for, to not to man the ships, but to work the ships for us, meaning, okay, every year they well, I don't know if it's every year, but they make more ships, and they bring more ships into play, right? You need people to work those ships. Well, what if those are the people that are going to work the ships for us? You know what I'm saying? I don't know. It's just a theory. I don't know if I quite explained that theory the way that I want to, but the point is that they went from saying, "Hey, we're putting refugees on cruise ships in New Zealand," to now out of nowhere, "Hey, we're thinking about putting these people on cruise ships that have come over the border. We're thinking about putting them on cruise ships for them to to house them or whatever." So the point is that the idea of putting refugees on cruise ships is floating around, and it has ended up, hitting these shores. You understand what I'm saying? So the idea is going to come quick once we're born. The idea of, well, let's just put them on ships and bring them back. You know what I mean? It's going to be a no brainer because they're already talking about it. You know what I mean? And so, all in all, just wanted to recap. I just want to say, that I know for a fact that the powers that be do not want this place to stand. That's why they're not alerting anyone. And I believe that they've been purposely trying to find people to destroy this place, to blow this place up with us in it. Because yes, they want their order out of chaos. They want their phoenix to rise from the ashes. That's their philosophy. That's their that's where their heart is. Okay, whatever. They want that. They know the destruction must come, and there must be a rebuilding. As Brother Tay was talking about, the system, and you going to get that system, that technocratic type system, out of the chaos. So they want the chaos. They want the destruction. They want people to get blown up, but they don't want us to leave with them. And so it is all about us. It really is all about us, because they didn't get desperate like this until we hit our 400 years, and then all of a sudden now inject us with stuff. They don't, oh, well, we're not biting, we're not going. And so they said, well, let's find somebody to blow them up. You understand? And they got what they wanted. Now Russia said, what's up, I'm about it. You know what I mean? And so we are a drop away from World War III. You know what I'm saying? And so I don't think we have much longer. I mean, logically, we can't stay here. We're not getting blown up. This ain't our judgment. You understand what I'm saying? So that's it. That's all. Hopefully I was clear on what I was just trying to relay, just bouncing some ideas around. You know what I mean? But basically, there will be no warning. They want people to be surprised, and that's why we're not doing what Russia's doing. We're not preparing. As this, these people aren't preparing their nation for destruction because they want it to come. The more unprepared you are, the more people die, and that's what they want. So all praise to the Most High that they're not going to get what they want, which is to take us down with the ship. They want us to go down with the ship. It ain't gonna happen. All praise to the Most High that that's not gonna happen. But yeah, that's basically it, brothers and sisters. I just wanted to talk about it. If you have any ideas or any rebuttals or whatever the case, feel free to share it. And I'll talk to y'all later. All right, take care.